Hi everyone, I thought I'd do a bit of a show and tell about the sorts of things you can expect if you come on a wildlife wellbeing walk with me. What exactly do I mean by that, and what might you experience? So for me, that real strong connection with nature, spending time immersed in it, exploring, noticing, that's the real kind of joy and beauty. And for me, I find it very relaxing because when I'm focused on the plants, I don't have really much space in my brain for anything else, and so I try and share and impart that so that you can have that yourself. So I've got two different species here, which hopefully the one on the left most people will recognise as dandelion, and the name dandelion comes from the French Dandelion. If I turn it on its side, you'll see that the leaves here, the margins of the leaf look a bit like teeth. So don being the French for tooth, and then I probably don't need to tell you that the lion stands for lion. So Dandelion, teeth of the lion. It also has another name in French which basically means wet the bed, because dandelions are a diuretic, and you can eat all of a dandelion, although depending on where it's grown I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. But anyway, there you go, that's your dandelion. So something that we see as a weed but past generations will have had a much stronger connection to, and will have utilised as part of their diet and part of their medicine chest. So that's the first one. And then the second one here we have is the wood avens, and it's got this pretty little yellow flower. It's a little bit similar to something like a buttercup. See if I can get a better view of that for you. It's got lots of stamens in the middle, and it's got these lovely, the green bits at the back are sepals. But you can see, unlike a buttercup, the petals aren't shiny. And they're more separate from each other, so you can actually see the sepals between them and they form like a bit of a star. So this is a common plant which you find in sort of woody and marginal areas, particularly in woody areas, so and along hedgerows. But the second part here is the seed head, and you can see really clearly actually in this that it's got these lovely little hooks at the end of each seed. And if I can just prise these apart, if it will let me. They're not quite fully developed yet, but the where are we? The individual seeds there are developing at the end, so that's the green bit. So if you have a pet like I do, you might have noticed some funny green bits sticking out, especially if, like me, you've got a black cat. They really stand out, that bright green. As I say, these aren't fully developed, so they're a bit small. Yes, so what this plant does is it hitches a ride on a furry animal. So if you think to our wild animals rather than the domestic ones, we'd be looking at things like foxes and badgers. But if you go far enough back in the UK and indeed in Europe where these still exist, you might be looking at things like wolves, perhaps wild boar. I mean, they don't have such a fine pelt to get stuck in, but they do have some coarse hairs, so that might be one. Beavers even, potentially. Otters, which we do have, fortunately, and beavers are coming back again. So, yeah, so these plants, they can't move. Other plants use different methods for seed dispersal. So if you think of your dandelion again, so that has the lovely dandelion clock, and each one of those seeds has its little umbrella, which is known as a pappus. And in a gust of wind, once those seeds are ripe and ready to go, they'll fly off. But these use a different method. So different methods of dispersal, because the plants can't get up and move around themselves, and unless you have some very strange cheese dreams, or you're watching Lord of the Rings and watching the Ents marching. But yeah, so they use these different ways of getting their seeds out there, and I think this is rather cool. So this is like a larger version of something like a burdock, which has much smaller hooks, or cleavers, which are the little round green balls. And these are kind of nature's Velcro, so really there's nothing that we haven't invented that isn't already out there, I reckon. If you think of a helicopter, well, that's based on things like the helicopters on the sycamore seeds. So, as I say, you know, there's probably not much out there that we've invented that probably hasn't been inspired by nature. There's bound to be somebody who can tell me something that wasn't, but I like to think that most of the things that we come up with, you know, have some basis in nature. So there we go. So that's the kind of thing that if you come on a walk with me, that you might pick up and learn. We try and kind of keep it quite gentle. We go at quite a slow pace, and plants are much easier to video, but we do also look at things like butterflies if we see them, bees, birds. I love birds and bird song, so I can help guide you with that as well. So anyway, look me up on the website and check out what walks I've got coming up. And I hope to meet you on a walk in Lancaster in the near future. Bye for now.